welcome to the Flores Garden. Today's book review is on A Sword in Slumber, the fourth book of the Queen's Counsel series. It is a standalone book. You can read it without reading all the others, and you can read them in any order you wish. As you can see, this one is about Princess Aurora. To ascend from peasant to princess to queen to empress in a single year should be impossible. Dreams have haunted Briar Rose all her life. As a peasant in the Austrian town of Hassak, I don't think I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry. Living in a cottage with her aunts and singing in the local tavern with her best friends, she dreamed of a true love, but that love was forced to slay the dragon Maleficent before she could even properly meet him, and when the prick of a spindle cursed her to sleep, Briar's dreams turned to horrible nightmares of other women she was sure had met the same cursed fate. Now the curse is broken and Briar is awake, but she is no longer Briar. She is Princess Aurora, and waking life feels even stranger than dreaming. She is betrothed to the love she met once upon a dream, Prince Philip of Lorraine, and after their wedding she will be queen. Then a brutal attack changes the course of her life yet again, and suddenly Aurora is not peasant, not princess, not only queen, but competing in a cutthroat tournament to become Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. And her main opposition is a face from her past she never expected to see again. Amid deadly games of calculation, shaky alliances, and unspoken threats, Aurora still dreams of the other cursed women. But visions are seldom all they seem, and the dreams that haunt her just might point her toward her future. If she can find the strength to face her destiny with eyes wide open. This thrilling reimagining wakes a lost princess from her fairy tale slumber and places her against a real historical backdrop with a Disney twist. So the book starts off with Aurora when she's 12 years old, and Maleficent is watching her. It turns out that Maleficent had known all along where to find Aurora, and cursing the princess is part of a bigger plan. So from that alone, I kept thinking about the Maleficent movie starring Angelina Jolie, where she knew where Aurora was the entire time and was watching her. But this isn't like that. Like, Maleficent is actually a bad person in this. She has absolutely no affection for Aurora. And then we do a time jump of 4 years, 6 weeks after Prince Philip woke up Aurora from her enchanted sleep. Aurora is having nightmares about other girls that have suffered the same fate she did. And on top of all of those nightmares, she is feeling so overwhelmed with her new life as a princess. And the only peace that she gets at all is spending time with Philip. I really like the idea that they are getting to know each other. Like, the more Sleeping Beauty stories I find, the more that these writers have taken that fairy tale, and instead of using love at first sight, they actually take the time to have Sleeping Beauty and the prince, or princesses in some cases I've read, get to know each other. And it's really so cute. So throughout the book, we get like little flashbacks of information of Aurora's life before the curse. If you take into account the Disney movie, pretty much the entire plot line is taking place the day before Aurora's curse. So, like, we really don't know much about her past life before she fell into an enchanted sleep. And like I've mentioned in other Sleeping Beauty videos, she has the least amount of lines ever spoken by a Disney princess, 14 to 16 lines. I always forget the exact number, but least amount of lines. She's asleep through like half the movie. And she had like little to no personality. So in this book, we see her with a personality, which is another thing that these writers have been doing that I absolutely love. They are giving this princess a personality. They are giving her character. She's not a 2D little strip anymore. She is a real person. Based off the Disney movie, we can pretty much assume that she was stuck in the forest her entire life, never had any friends other than the forest animals and the 3 fairies watching over her. But in this book, she would go into the nearby town and made friends her own age. Her friends felt betrayed when they found out that she was actually the lost Princess Aurora. they blamed her and would say, like, why would you keep that secret from us? I thought we were best friends. And Aurora would try to explain, like, I didn't even know I was a princess, I swear. But they were mad. So her friends were angry with her. They didn't really talk to her. And when she went back to try to explain again that she didn't know anything about her past, she found out that her friend Frida had disappeared around the exact same time that Aurora had fallen under the sleeping curse. So that little mystery is like at the forefront of our mind. And then we move to the historical part of the story that pretty much sets the whole thing into motion. The emperor of the Roman Empire just died, and now there's going to be a tournament to find out which candidate would be the next best emperor. All knew the process for choosing an emperor. The position was not hereditary, and each one was chosen after a 3-week process of candidates putting themselves forward to a committee of prince-electors who then cast votes and selected the next emperor. So this was more of a democracy instead of a monarchy. In this book, we are in the middle of their wedding, like their actual wedding. I love it. I love seeing these princesses get together with their princes. They are so cute. But in the middle of the ceremony, the Queen of Bavaria attacks, and King Stefan, Aurora's father, dies, which then pushes Aurora to be the next queen. This was something else I liked, mostly in historical settings. Whenever the king died, the next male heir would take charge. But in this one, they told Aurora, you were his heir, not Philip, you are queen. And now that Stefan is gone, Aurora decides that instead of being queen, she's going to run for empress to show Bavaria that her kingdom cannot be pushed around by bullies. We get to the tournament and we learn more about the rules of how to become emperor or empress. 7 prince-electors would cast votes to name the new emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. The whole process would stretch over 3 weeks, during which time the electors would meet with each candidate to get to know them, pose whatever questions they had, and judge their worth. Throughout those 3 weeks, there would be structured events, jousts and games, banquets and balls, all the typical pomp of the upper classes. But Breyer had been warned that these events would be positioned to reveal the candidate's strengths and weaknesses. Games would be designed to reveal cunning and mental prowess. Banquets would be designed to reveal social standing and command of attention. Jousts to show the strength of one's soldiers, and so on. And during all of this, Aurora's friend Frida, who had been missing, suddenly shows up. And she decides that she's going to run for empress as well. No spoilers, because I don't want to say where she had been or what Frida had been doing. So if you want to know, you're going to have to read the book. And I do suggest it because this book was really fun to read. And it also provides conflict. Aurora is now competing against her best friend. One by one, each of the contestants get knocked out of the competition. And Aurora is trying to figure out who is behind all of this sabotage before she ends up in super deep trouble. In some cases, some of the people were scared off to go back to their own countries. In other cases, people had died. Aurora sticks around to find out what's going on, who's behind all of the sabotage, and she's still trying to win the competition. I had forgotten to include this into my notes, but the character of Prince Philip, we find out that he had suffered from PTSD from the events of Maleficent and fighting against her as a dragon. At first, I was really confused because during the Bavarian attack during the wedding, Aurora's watching Philip. Philip freezes. He freezes, has full-blown panic attack. And at first, I was so confused. I'm like, why is he just standing there? I mean, we saw him murder a dragon. And I felt like that was so out of character. And while we're reading throughout the story, it turns out that he's also having nightmares, not the same as Aurora of girls like fast asleep. He's having nightmares of those specific events of fighting Maleficent as a dragon. And he confesses that the reason he froze up is because he's having like horrible flashbacks that he's facing the dragon again and keeps thinking like, oh no, what if I mess up? And he also says like he was terrified. He was honestly terrified when he found everybody in the castle asleep along with Aurora. And he didn't think that he would be able to wake her and save everybody. So I thought that was really interesting to see his character kind of go through like this trauma and overcome it. Overall, I give this book 4 stars. It was fun, it was adorable, the political intrigue had me on the edge of my seat, and I love stories that expand on the Sleeping Beauty story, giving us far more insight into the characters and the events surrounding the story that we know. And I loved seeing the consequences of Maleficent's curse, not just on Aurora, but on Philip and everybody else that had been like super closely involved. Again, I highly recommend the Queen's Counsel series for young women everywhere, adult women, any woman really, because they show that women can be strong, competent leaders. They are great, they're amazing, stories are a little predictable, but they're fun, they're fantastic. So that's all I have to say on A Sword in Slumber. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Wealth to the princess, long live